Good morning, grandkids. This is chapter 37 of our friend Dorkly, the young wizard, who's sort of coming of age in his story in a land far, far away. I don't feel like I'm sitting right with, there. Is that better? Okay. Dorkly hurries out of his basement laboratory, stumbling up the steps, grinning and chuckling. Boy, oh boy, Banister's going to be taking some skin off somebody now. He hurries on toward the court because he wants to be there when it's all brought before the king. A guard had been sent to tell Dupree that Sergeant Gable had been injured and was with a healer in out in Blue Spire Court, the town of Blue Spire, outside of Blue Spire Court. I keep calling it Blue Haven, but it isn't. The whole huge island-like country is Blue Haven. I don't know how I keep calling the town Blue Haven. I screwed that up way back in the beginning, I think. Sorry. Anyway, Dupree hurried out of the palace and out into the city. He found Sergeant Gable propped up in a bed, his shoulder bandaged and with his arm in a sling. "Well," Dupree said, "you aren't looking too bad, thank goodness. Did you enjoy your trip out with Banister?" And he chuckled. "Not funny," said Sergeant Gable. "It was quite an adventure, though. That Major Banister don't seem to take any crap off anyone. He's really worked up about the running of the mine. I'm thinking there's going to be some changes made around there." "Good for him. Hey, are you going to be hanging with him for a while yet?" Dupree asked. "Yeah," Gable said. "I think he's keeping me with him until he gets this mine trouble taken care of. Then I'll be back with you." "Good. He felt that you might need more of that kind of training before you came back to be a personal guard for me. Stay safe, Sergeant Gable, because I want you back. I've got to get back to the court right now. Have a stiff drink. It'll make you feel better." And Dupree left, chuckling. The king had been sitting on the throne, with Dorkly and Dupree on either side, and listening to the requests and complaints from various citizens. He saw the doors open and then waited while Conley... I'm sorry. He saw the doors open and a guard escort Othella and William in from the city. They waited while Conley finished with the citizens. When the citizens had been escorted back outside, Othella and William approached. Othella said, "Father, we have some news well, I'm with child, possibly your next heir, if Dupree still doesn't want the throne." "Well, this is great news. The decision between the babe and Dupree is far in the future. We will see then." He then looked at her a little sternly and said, "I'm perfectly healthy." Then smiled and said, "But I'm delighted to know that at least one of my children will make me a grandfather." "Well, when the babe, would take the throne, of course it would be years from now, unless something ever happened to you. Look at what happened to your wizard Gorman. I mean, if anything like that ever did happen. I want you to know I'd be very attentive and help advise the child. I just wanted you to be assured so you wouldn't ever worry." The king and his son Dupree sort of looked at each other. Finally, the king said, "Well, that conversation is certainly out of order for now, but I'm very excited for the news of the coming addition to the family." And he smiled. William, afraid of his wife's attitude, spoke up. quickly to change the subject. Sire, we enjoyed the tour of the house you offered us of Dermis's, but we've decided to stay in our house in the outer city. We like the people and the shops and things to do, but the offer is greatly appreciated, and he gave Conley a quick bow. I did want to mention something to you, though. While we have been strolling around out there in the city, I've noticed a woman who seems to be following us. She's never approached us, but it just doesn't feel right. This has happened a couple of times now with the same woman. Oh my, the king exclaimed. I'll assign another guard to the two of you, and I guess I'll consult with General Banister about this. You be on guard and let me or Banister know if anything starts. As of now, I can't have Banister do anything as long as she hasn't really done anything herself, but thank you for telling me, and I'll take care of it. Leaving the courtroom, Dupree walks with his father over to the sitting room as Dorkly hurries out to his own spire. They sit down, and a servant brings them drinks. Dupree says, Dad, it seems that Othella is planning on her babe being king someday, which is all well and good, but I want to let you know that I have been giving my life some serious thought lately, some of which involves the kingship. Far in the future, I'm hoping, and he smiles at his father. I guess the way my brother screwed up his life is what got me to thinking about mine. I just have seemed to be letting life drift by without much interest in anything. I actually wanted to ask your advice about that. Do you think I should join the military, maybe? I'm not trained for anything, but I can learn. Whatever you feel would be fitting for a king's son to do. The king was looking at him with pride and love in his eyes. Major Banister arrives back in the city, outer Blue Spire, outside the palace walls, but within the outer wall and gates. He goes first to see Sergeant Gable. How you doing, Sergeant? You're not looking too bad, and he smiled. Oh, I'm fine. I'll be back with you in a day or two. That's if you'll still have me. Sure, Banister said. These things happen to all of us. We just have to learn to always be on guard. We'll get you back out there in the fight. I think you've learned a good lesson this time. Yes, General, I certainly did. Good, son, good. And Banister turned to leave, but said over his shoulder, You learned your first lesson, how not to die, hopefully. And they both laughed. General Banister hurries on to the bunkhouse, where he sent the two card-playing guards from Corkscrew Mine. He walks in and calls out, Where's those lazy-ass guards from Corkscrew Mine? The guard in the bunkhouse all smile their eyes over to a table in the corner. Banister walks over and sits down. All right, listen up. I've sent 2 guards to replace you 2 at Corkscrew. You guys will now be working with the guards out of this bunkhouse. They get their orders from me, and so will you. I'll have one of the men pick out a couple of bunks for you. Sleep here tonight and tomorrow. Sleep here tonight, period. And tomorrow, if you have family in the burg of Corkscrew, get them moved to here, to outer Blue Spire. Sleep here again and start working with the guards the next day. And see to it that you stay sharp from now on. He's angry. He then got up and went to his own rooms in the bunkhouse. He grabbed a bottle, sat down at his desk, and started writing out his report for the king. It was getting late in the evening, and he looked over at his personal guard and told him to go out in the streets of the city and bring him back a woman for the night. Then he took a big swig of mead and started riding again. Dorkly is spending the evening in his lab with his scrying bowl, keeping an eye on things, mainly the mine, but he's decided to add the king's daughter to his spying. Dupree spends the evening in his spire, drinking mead and spending some serious time in thought about his life, the kingship, and even his sister Othella. So that's the end of this week's chapter. I hope you enjoyed that, and it sort of leaves us with several different things to think about that will be coming up in the story. So I will see you all later, grandkids, and bye-bye for this time.